Hello, and welcome to the Troyiverse. This is episode 8, and welcome back. So, how was your Thanksgiving? How was your Turkey Day? How was your Friendsgiving? Um, I hope it went well for everyone. I, on my personal journey of healing, took it upon myself to make the decision to opt out. Here's the funny thing about me and like traditions and holidays and stuff like that. If you don't already know by listening to my podcast already, then I don't really subscribe to holidays like that. I mean, it was a tenuous situations when it came down to I mean, like I was depressed since I was like 8 years old because of the trauma of not have the trauma of believing the lie that my own mother didn't believe in me enough to excel in my tutelage of my educational upbringing or academic upbringing to excel to the atmosphere of going to college. If you know me personally or if you perused my TikTok account, that's Troyiverse 81 if you're looking for me, then you can see the many different accolades of me being on the president list of my academic career in my pursuit of my bachelor's degree of psychology. So, and also I was on the president's list, uh, pretty much the whole grading period of being in my bachelor degree. In my associate's degree for business administration, I was on the dean's list for that the whole duration of the my academic career and in my associate's degree. But for me, Thanksgiving, on top of the fact that if you remember me being a germaphobe, I had a lot of different mm, unhygienic occurrences by family members making different food products for Thanksgiving, and the the advancement of their age took some shortcuts in versatility of hygiene when it came down to sticking your finger into something to taste it and then putting more pepper or seasonings or whatever in there and then dipping that same finger into that pot to taste it again without washing your hands. That is disgusting. And I don't. It's same thing with this new age of viral like cooking stuff. Like I can't stand it. It grinds my gears. It gets my goat. It burns my toast. That people drink like they'll open a bottle of like liquor or wine or like whatever they're going to cook with or whatever beer they're going to like pour into the meal or whatever you have it, and then all of a sudden they'll open the bottle and then they'll drink from it first and then they pour it in. And now don't get me wrong, it's not like the food that they're preparing in the video I'm going to somehow taste. However, for now on, I would never eat from their home, even if they invited me to come over to eat, because I'm like, I can't trust you to not drink from the bottle that you're going to now pour the liquid and your backwash into the food we're going to eat. I don't care if the alcohol get burned out of the food because of the heat and stuff like that. I don't want your germs there. I'll keep the alcoholic like je ne sais quoi of the meal into the meal. I just don't want your germs there. So for me, I mean, it's a lot of artists that I've started to notice that have been properly doing that, like properly doing it the right way, like opening the bottle of whatever you're gonna pour into the food, and then pour it into the food, and then you take a sip of the beverage because that beverage is now going straight from the bottle to your mouth and not from the bottle to your mouth. Now the bottle is going to be poured over food that everybody's going to be ingesting. I digress. Anyway, so I took the note of my self actualization. And I said, I'm not going to go there, especially because of the fact that if you remember from previous episodes, me mentioning the cousin that called me an idiot, the banquet of this tradition of Thanksgiving, which let's be clear about this is the tradition of the natives creating a feast to invite the guests that were not native to this land here with authentic, gracious hostessness to say, hey, let's break bread and let's be friends. And those people went about eating up the people's food, the indigenous people's food that they created, and then slaughtering, murdering, poisoning, raping, and pillaging. The the pure audacity of literally giving smallpox and other diseases and inflictions to these native people. But that is the holiday that y'all choose to celebrate every year with the caveat of being like, yeah, let's joke about the fact that Uncle Tommy or Aunt Margaret or dad or mom are conservatives or they don't understand me or they don't, or let's not talk about Aunt Carol's roommate that's been roommates with Aunt Carol for like 20 years, even though who cares if that's what if they're roommates or they're lovers. Like, why purposely put yourself in a situation where you're going to feel uncomfortable? And since my whole thing is I'm no longer putting myself in a place of discomfort or uncomfortness, I'm not going. And that's what I did. I stayed home. I enjoyed myself. I played some video games. I'm playing God of War at the moment. The was that the 2018 God of War with Atreus, and I'm building up so I can finish that, like complete it 100%, and then I want to go play Ragnarok and complete that 100%. The Valkyries are infuriating, but I enjoy the challenge. I'm leveling up everything, but anyway, um, so yeah, even with my Christmas, I don't celebrate Christmas the traditional way that people celebrate Christmas. My idea of Christmas, and I can't remember if I displayed this or talked about this or not, was the fact that anything I buy throughout that year, like, and that goes into the day after Christmas to like December 24th of the following year type thing. Anything I buy, be it a video game or a game console or um, my swords or my guitar or the amp that I have, or I'm not gonna say the comic books because then I'll just be like the whole shelf of comic books and books and stuff. But like anything that was packaged, delivered like to Amazon, like through Amazon or through whatever shipping company I'm using, or whatever that has a box that I can like maintain and keep there. I stack up all those boxes and I put those under the tree because why shouldn't I be thankful or grateful for all the stuff that I got myself or got my family all through the year? And also, it shows the fact of just appreciating what you have instead of focusing on the capitalism nature of it and being like, oh yeah, even I bought all this stuff that makes me content, happy, like being in my sense of comfort and pleasure. I'm still going to buy 100 or thousands of dollars of more stuff just to prove to somebody else that, oh yeah, I'm living well. Like, I'm already living well. I don't gotta chase the Joneses, and I don't want to teach my child to always chase after somebody else's idea of what splendor or what like success means. Because I don't care what success means to somebody else. I'm not measuring myself off anybody else's ruler, and I don't want to have my mini me also live a life similarly to so many people that are around her right now, as well as the people that were orchestrating her upbringing without me. Like they focused on chasing the money. And I mentioned this before in two or three previous podcasts, but I was like, with me, money is a totally different aspect. Like I use money the way Gambit used his cards or any of the many different things, objects that he can charge up or emit his energy into to then do what he will with it. And that's basically what I do with money. Money doesn't have power to me. Money is just something that I use to enjoy myself with. So, because the power is in me, like money can help me jump over obstacles or actually like think about everything Gambit does with his cards. He goes from a defensive position to an offensive position to just doing card tricks or not even putting his energy into it at all and just like fiddling with it and just being like, huh, yeah, I got it. This is mine. But also, if he wanted to impress somebody, he can literally go and charge up a card and like have it just have a delayed reaction to do like a little fizzle pop or something like that. Like it was a comic book, which is the it was a great comic book. I can't remember what issue it was. It was adjectivelessly X Men, the Jim Lee early edition, and I think it was like ooh uh in like the 50s or 60s maybe issue, like the first edition 50s and 60s of Jim Lee John, and it was just a story about when Gambit and Sabretooth first ran into each other. And Gambit was like 19, Remy was 19, Sabretooth was whatever age Sabretooth is, because whatever. Like at this point, we don't. Does anybody really know how old Sabretooth is? Like chronologically, they could say it is, but like with all the retcons and stuff and all the stuff dealing with how old Wolverine actually is, I don't think they actually proposed the idea of saying Sabretooth was like 10 years older than him, but I could be mistaken. I don't know all the lore history of Sabretooth um, compared to the lore and history I know of Wolverine. Um, Still love his character though. Victor Creed is a crazy, amazing character and a great antithesis to James Logan Hollowitz. But yeah, especially oh my god, when they brought him back after the Cocoa era, and he didn't do his birthday ritual to like James, the Logan, for like what was that like 2 or 3 years? Because Cocoa was going on for a minute, and then when was able to get out, he like massacred everybody. Like he ripped Dakin and Quentin Quire like to pieces and like spelled their name. I mean, spelled out Happy Birthday in their like body parts in their dismember. Oh my god, it was fucking gruesome. Then he then he then he like he gripped up Wolverine, beat the bullshit out of him as usual, and then like hung him up to like have him like wake up and see the first thing he see is like the heads and limbs and body parts of Quentin and his son Dakin, and like both of them basically are his sons pretty much. Like sadly, more Quentin than Dakin, but that's because Dakin was literally trying to kill like James for like ever since he showed up on the scene. Dakin was just trying to kill, like he was just trying to kill Logan. It was crazy, um, and almost did it. It was to the point where Logan had to like hire Deadpool, I think, at one point to like act like Deadpool was going to be hired by Dakin to kill Logan, so they could like trick him into revealing himself, so they could take him out. Like it was, they have a weird, crazy history between Dakin and Logan. I also I'm happy that Dakin is now Wolverine. Now he's a Ghost Rider that is a Wolverine. That's a Ghost Rider. He has the spirit of vengeance in him, and yeah, and it's pretty dope. I haven't collected a comic book series for that. I might actually just do the paper trade back or whatever. Um, because I did just get, oh my goodness, I can't wait. I just got the paper trade back for the Absolute Superman, and I just got the latest episode, that latest issue of Absolute Batman. They sold out of the trade paperback of Absolute Wonder Woman, which is fine because when they get it back, I'm gonna get two copies because I actually gonna get it for myself because No pun intended. Like absolutely pun intended. I absolutely love the whole Trinity storyline between Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. Like their storylines are incredible in the absolute universe. Like Darkseid was right. Like I don't like Darkseid was right. Like pressure bust pipes. Like I'm living that like example. Like I had literally, I'm literally looking at videos where they're like people are putting up memes and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, like I know a lot of people have like unconditional love, or I know people have like love in their life, and I know other people are like getting some love, but there's this small amount of people that just only getting crumbs with the amount of love and support that they're like getting and receiving and stuff like that. And I'm literally reading this, I'm like, yo, y'all getting crumbs of love and support? Oh wow, I wonder what that feels like. But I digress. So like that's how I use money. I basically use money to enjoy myself. So if you when you see me on my like spaces or like that, or my social media accounts, and you see me playing the guitar, you see me like with my different jewelry, which is copper. Is copper. I am aligned with copper jewelry because copper is my metal that it grounds me. It grounds my energy, and it helps me to it's basically Mjolnir for Thor. Like the power of the storm and the lightning has been retconned and said it's in Mjolnir and stuff like that, but he is also the god of thunder, and thunder is the antithesis of sound that comes after the lightning, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. So I mean, they couldn't make up a complete Shango ripoff, so they had to like delegate it, blah 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 blah. But anyway, it's similar to that type thing. It's like the copper helps me to attune to my natural adaptive energies, yada yada yada. So, but yeah, like my Xbox, my PlayStation, my games, my swords, my phone, laptop, my my actual Nagi, my vehicle, the stuff I get, my groceries, the things that bring me joy and pleasure, going to Pittsburgh to go see an RV um, convention, buying an RV in the near future to actually travel. Like this is what I'm chasing. I'm chasing the experiment, the experiments, as well the experience. So I want the experience, and I want to see what the experiment will like bring about. And I mean that's for me is the antithesis of what my life is about. Um, and with that, the experience and the experiments do require me to use money, but the money that I'm using is only going to amplify the experience or experiment because I don't need the money to do what I want to do because what I want to do is enjoy life. Like I want to share and have fun and be shared with. I want to pour into people and be poured into as well. And that doesn't take money. It just takes the wherewithal and the understanding of saying like I know that I can shape my reality to look like what I want it to be. Meaning, if I'm only going to focus on trying to find the pleasure, trying to find like the excitement, trying to see what new like data can be found from these experiments, like I don't need to do that, woman. All I got to do is wake up. That's it. I just have to wake up. Society put these norms in our head of like taxes and like you have to do this, you have to go to work, you have to like a closed mouth don't get fed because if you hungry then you need to say something to somebody or you need to get up to go work and get a job. But like we people know, like all people know, but people know that there's more. I wanted to say this correctly. I believe it's the correct phrasing is there's more male trees being planted because male trees don't produce fruit. However, feminine or female trees do produce fruit, but the cities and the national like government or the government at large purposely plant male genetic trees so that the trees will can produce oxygen and reduce carbon dioxide, of course, but it won't produce fruit. And why would they want to produce fruit when they have supermarkets that you can buy fruit from? Like, why produce living scenarios where you teach agriculture to the masses, not just women, not just kids, but everybody. Everybody get the knowledge of agriculture so they can learn how to grow things. They can learn how to have a better green thumb, if you will, or having instead of it just being a focal point of saying home ec is a selective that most women and some dudes actually do like apply to. Like it'll be a full on thing. Like people need to learn how to cook. It's not a gender neutral or gender distinct thing or whatever like that. Like it is a human necessity to eat, to crave food. And we also are going to have a desire to crave the food that's going to be delicious to our palate. Hence, we need to learn how to cook. I was grateful because I was raised in a house full of like chefs and cooks and bakers and you know and for me of course like I say all the time cooking is like a science project to me. Like you get all the ingredients together that are separate, then you start mixing them together, putting like certain measurements and trial and error of those measurements when you see the final product, or even in the middle of like creating the final product, like you'll start to like see different things start coming together, coming about from that, and it's dope. It's amazing. It's impressive. Um, but yeah, like I I definitely learned a lot from my family and everybody. It was just funny because looking into, I'm not going to say looking at the average because there's no way that you can say average in the full totality of the upbringing of parents, be it mother or father, to their children, be it, a single child or multiple children or a boy or a girl. Like, but the overwhelming data that they try to suggest is accurate. Usually comes out the form of saying that usually the first thing that most children learn from their family or from their parents is love. And it was funny because I I to tell you, I told you already if you listened to the first episode of the podcast of what my first memory was of my mother. Um, but doing a deeper dive, which is helping me with this because the more I'm talking about my past stuff, the more new information is always going to come up, especially when like new downloads or new perspectives or just new maturity happens. And definitely with the gravity of everything that I'm learning, not just on a like situational like basis, but also on the fact that like I'm in school for psychology. Like I'm learning the human brain. Like I'm learning. I've always been a people watcher, so I've always been watching for different mannerisms and also different like ticks and stuff. Like honestly, think of me as like I said before, like the Sicilian character that um oh my god, I'm blanking on his name right now. Christopher Walken played in True Romance. Like I learned how to pantomime. Like and it wasn't because of the fact that I was looking for lies. I was just looking to see if I was making someone comfortable or uncomfortable with the things I was saying because you can tell by a flicker of the eye or a subtle shift of like the shoulder or a certain like lackadaisical like gleam in somebody's eye like when you can usually see when they are more focused or paying attention to the thing that they are interested in. Um, so I in a young age I was already aware of different body tics and body languages and different communicational skills that most people weren't even familiar with at a young age. And then now with this added bonus of reading and like absorbing and adapting to what I'm learning through all of these different classes and courses I'm taking um, to pursue my doctorate in psychology and become a psychiatrist. Um, it's just, it's amazing. Like, let me tell you a really quick story about what just recently happened with my mom. Oh, it was so funny because I couldn't do anything but laugh. Um, which is so drastically different from how I used to engage and interact with her previously. But I was coming downstairs because I had to plug in um my bell cam. I have a bell camera, so I was plugging in my bell camera, and as I was coming down, like she was like, one, she was trying to build up some type of reason for distress because we have two recycling bins, and like almost every week somebody steals our one of our recycling bins, and almost every week it just returns back on our thing because what's ours is ours, and it is what it is. And our neighbors know, and then when they see that we're missing one, they be like, "Oh, let's do a head count to see if we have extra or not." Oh, we do. Let me replace theirs back to blah blah blah. It happens every single week, like without fail. And like it becomes a thing where I come downstairs, she's like, "Oh, it was our they took our can, they stole our can. Oh, I went around the corner and it's like three cans back there, but one had paint on the address, so I couldn't see what it was ours or not, so I didn't want to take it. So, but tomorrow, which was yesterday was Saturday. He was like, tomorrow go to the recycling bin and go get me a recycling bin. And I'm like, first of all, tomorrow's Sunday. You didn't even check, even though you have a cell phone, to see if the place is open. You just, which is hilarious because she's Christian, and literally sings the song "Peace Be Still" all the time. However, your actions doesn't show your stillness. Your actions don't just show your peace. Because if I've just said this happens every week, without fail, why are you being aggravated? And why are you trying to aggravate me by saying something that we already know happens every week? And also, why would you send me out to go someplace where you don't even know if it's open or not, and it's a Sunday? But that wasn't the whole thing that I started laughing at. When I came downstairs, before she told me about the recycling bin, she was like, I have to talk to you. Super dramatic. Super, like, this is also where I get my dramatic nature from. We have to talk. I have to tell you something. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go out there to get my my bell count back on and have to charge it and come back up, in the living room and stuff like that. I'm going upstairs and they're like, whoa, I was on the phone all day and I was trying to, I couldn't get what I could get for paying the bill. It was just something about a bill, something like that. And I was like, and I was like, here's the thing. You're talking from the middle of the conversation. Like, I know what you're talking about. What bill? What are you referring to? Do I need to know about this? Oh, it's the T-Mobile bill. So it's the phone bill. Yeah. And because of what happened, how we couldn't get the rebate of $5. And I was like, okay, so you're complaining about $5? No, no, it's $10. Okay, so you complain about $10. No, no, I got it done. So you tell okay, so wait, let me get this straight. So you're telling me something that you didn't need to tell me because everything's the same thing. You got a rebate and nothing changed. Everything's the same. So the update is everything's the same. I you know what? That was 12 seconds of my life that I don't know what I could use it for, but it definitely wasted my time to me to come up and be like, "Hey, I want to tell you about how my sleep ended." And they're like, "Well, how's your sleeping?" I woke up. Oh, so same thing that you do when you finish sleeping all the time. Then, okay. I mean, thanks for letting me know. I mean, I kind of assumed that when you are here in front of me now and saying, "Guess what happened when after I, you know, the end of my sleep." But you know what? he surprised me. I mean, I I didn't expect that waste of time to happen. So you know what? That was a surprise. There you go. So so yeah, I literally laughed. I couldn't help myself. I literally laughed, and I laughed so hard, and I laughed all the way up the stairs. I laughed into the actually I laughed. I was laughing while I was washing my hands because I was, I was hygiene. I always want to make sure I'm washing my hands and stuff like that, especially if I'm talking like outside stuff. But like, yeah, and I didn't put my gloves on because I ran downstairs because I was looking for a package that came, and yeah, so I didn't have time to put my gloves on and go down. But I was like, I got time to get the my bell camp. Anyway, I digress. Um, so yeah, but to talk about the first things that I learned, or the first thing I learned from my mother at a young age. Well, like to reiterate before, like most people, I'm not gonna say all people, most people, because not all people experience the same like upbringing. But and it's so funny. I want to keep bringing up the whole not all people um terminologies like real fast, but I'll get to that in a second. Because not all people experience love like that, and not all people experience what I experienced. And what I experienced growing up with my mother was I learned, and the first thing I learned was to be delusional. And it's so interesting being a male raised by a woman and navigating the understanding of delusion compared to flat out lying. Delusion, of course, this is interpretation of the word. This is not the definition of the word. This is just. But later on, I will get into definitions of actual words later. But that's to come later. For this exercise of telling my Troy story, is just what I've learned in the things that align with me that came about learning all this. So the illusion, and this is from the aspect of me watching this in real time as a child, and the confusion I am going to share with you about why I never understood what I was doing compared to what she was doing, and why it was wrong for me compared to why it was okay for them. So I will, I'm a child, I'm a kid, I'm hanging out with my mom. If I'm hanging out with my mom and literally it's a situation, hypothetical situation where it's like we go to the store, we, oh, you know what? I'll tell a real situation. I'll tell a real story. We was down um the plateau. We was down about the plateau one year. I think it was like 4th of July. I think I was still like in the like early adolescence type thing. I think I was like 11, 12. Something. I wasn't a teenager just yet. I was still young. So he's driving. He was in the plat. It was like 4th of July. People was shooting off fireworks. My mom wanted to stop to look at the fireworks, so we stopped off and we sitting there at the lights. The car lights was like shining ahead of us. We got out the car. We was like looking at the fireworks. I can't remember which one of us noticed it first, but one of us noticed that it was some type of like, I don't know what it was. It was nighttime. It was dark, and we had the light shining. It was just pitch black, but it was some type of critter. That's all I can really say. It was some type of critter. I don't know if it was a bunny. I don't know if it was a rat. I don't know if it was a squirrel. I don't know if it was a raccoon. I don't know what it was, but it was some type of critter, some type of creature that was basically like making its way towards us, like literally straight line making its way towards us, like. And like I said, can't remember which one of us seen it, but one of us seen it, and I do remember after like looking at it for a couple of seconds, it didn't move, and looking away from it, but kind of keeping like a peripheral view of it while I'm looking at the fireworks, and then I seen it move again. That's when I remember her saying, "What is that?" And I was like, because I'm like, So, but then as we was focusing on it, now the thing, I don't know if it if it recognized that we noticed it or whatever, it just didn't care at this point. It stopped when she said, "What is that?" But then it started moving forward again, even while we was looking at it. And she was like, "You know what? Let's get in the car." So with the later on in that story, or later on in her regurgitating or telling that story, it became a thing of like the thing was a huge thing. It was a big. It was like it could have been a rat. It could have been something gigantic. Like it was talking after us. It was like this delusion of like this extravagant tale. And I was like, I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, she freaked out. I wasn't freaked out, but she just basically like, let's get in the car because I don't know what that is, and just drove off. It wasn't like a Men in Black scene, but she put pizzazz on it. She put this delusional spin on it that was like, okay, she put some gravitas to it. Cool. Like, she put some extra flair to the story. She made it more digestible because it was kind of like, a boring story. It was like, all right. It was just something to hop and came, chittered, hop, towards us. Literally, like, maybe like 7 to 10 feet away type shit. And it got close enough to be like 5 or 4 feet away type shit. Like it wasn't like if it did like a Wolverine leap towards me type thing. It was gonna grip me up and grab me and like from like 4 feet away. It was a small thing, but regardless, me taking that, I was like, oh, okay, so we can take the stories that we live and then put some extra like spice to it, put some extra flair to it, like give some extra pizzazz, and hence why my Troy stories are so good, have so much flair to it because it had this like air of delusion to it. It was all accurate stories, but it was this air of like if it was three things that I was doing, and I as a kid I would bump it up to like eight or something like that, where I would be like, oh, it's this one and that, and it got to a point where people would be like, oh, you're lying. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just telling a story with flair. And then they would just start looking for like little words to be like, oh well, Troy said it was on like Upsall and Burbank, but there's no Upsall in Burbank. There's an Upsall next to Burbank, but it doesn't run through Burbank. It'd be like, see, that one thing right there was the thing that Troy lied about. So the whole story is a lie. Like, that's weird. Just like the podcast. Like people will stop listening to the podcast because they weren't listening in the first place. And I mentioned 5 year old. And because I mentioned 5 year old in the context of me being a 5 year old, dating two other 5 year olds because one 5 year old wanted to be my girlfriend, but I wanted to be the boyfriend to her friend. And that friend was like, we can just all be together. Just because I said 5 year old and also thruple, everybody was like, I'm not listening to this podcast no more. I can't listen to this. He's talking about children. Yes, I'm talking about my life story. I didn't just appear as a 44-year-old adult. I'm sorry, or a 21-year-old adult. I'm sorry, an 18-year-old adult. Oh, a 16-year-old adult, depending on what state you live in, which is so weird. I found that out recently. like, like PA 16-year-old witch girl, which one of my friends told me about, and it was just like, oh my god, which actually kind of helped out me in this situation because the first time I actually engaged in intimacy, I was 16. The person I was with was actually older, a lot older than that, but it was consensual. It was consensual on both sides. Hence, a lot of my story it is interpreted from that first encounter. Not Will and Kelly, the book, the code that I'm actually going to, the code, not the code, but the code that I'm actually going to be writing in conjunction with A Night of Passion that leads into my omniversal sci-fi book genre. That's like the middle gap between those two series. But yeah, that was the template, or that is the template of my own endeavors of sexual experiences or first sexual experiences with somebody older was the TJ and Kelly dynamic that I'm going to be writing later on the book. But then, yeah, so when I say I was happy about that, because I never like telling that story because I was always under the assumption that the legal age was 18. So anybody that was over 18 messing with somebody under 18 would get in trouble, and I never wanted to get them in trouble, her in trouble, them in trouble. So, um, yeah. Uh, so yeah, there's that. So that's the reason I was like super happy about when one of my friends told me about the whole legal age of consent being 16. I was like, oh, I can now tell my story about when I lost my virginity. But at the same time, it's like it's so precious to me now. I'd just rather use the other story that I tell everybody in the first place. But yeah, I'll just use that one for fictional purposes for the TJ representation of myself in that story. But right, regardless, um, delusion was the template of me learning how to tell stories and to the antithesis of the Troy story. Basically, like I was learning how to become that and better. Of course, it became a thing of because I was exaggerating, because I was learning from like my mother and her delusion of how she tells stuff. I mean, even in the whole family, like they, the women in my family, except I think I want to say the only woman that I don't particularly remember having any real stories of violence was my Aunt Beth. I mean, truthfully, I don't really know much about my grandma in Wichita, which that was a whole funny story. I remember the cousin that called me the idiot. She referred to a story or referenced a story about seeing the birth certificate to my grandfather one day, like, and then my grandma gripped it out of her hands and ripped it up. Um, that's her story that she told us after our grandma passed away, but you know, you never know what life experiences people are sharing or being delusional or putting extra flair to, you know, because, you know, I'm literally telling you I'm putting extra, I used to put extra flair on my old stories and stuff. Now, after being a child and being young and being in the point of understanding delusion as well as understanding the difference between delusion and lying flat out, it became a point where I was like, okay, if everybody gonna keep calling me a liar, because one thing was off kilter from a story when I was literally saying like as a child telling you directions of where we was at, and now you're going to be weird and extra because of the fact that I wasn't completely accurate about geography or city fucking mapping structures. Now the whole story is a bust. So I was like, you know what? I will continue to put flair on it, put some seasoning on, put some stank on my stories, but I was going to be completely accurate to my best knowledge. So then it got to a point where instead of it becoming trying to nitpick every single word that they could try to find, then it became a point of literally trying to nitpick my story and being like, well, why did you think they did that? And I'd be like, well, I don't know, maybe because of that. Well, that's wrong. And since you was wrong on understanding why you think they did that, then the whole story is wrong. It has holes in it. Somebody literally told me that the description of what I experienced and what I was telling them I experienced, they was like, that don't make sense. That had holes in it. So I believe you're lying. And that's only because it was a reflection of his whole thing. His name is Tony, by the way. He actually had a whole like domestic violence thing that he told me about. He personally told me about this thing where he was like he has to wear long sleeves and get tattoos on his arm because the person that he was with at the time got into a argument and a fight with him, and from his words, not my words, his words, it was an altercation between the both of them, and there was a knife that was grabbed, and then he has wounds on his arms and stuff like that because, and he had to wear long sleeves at that time. This was in 2020, and he was telling me how his kids was in the house at the time when all this happened. He had two daughters at the time. I'm not sure if one of them is still alive or not, but like, yeah, like his story was talking about how he like got upset and got violent, and then all of a sudden there was blood and knife and everything and all this happened, and now he got to wear long sleeves. That's his story. He told me that I'm sharing with y'all. Nothing I made up. So if that was a lie that he perpetuated to tell me for some weird reason, because he was telling weird, he always told me weird stories. I feel sorry for him actually. Like I really did. Like the first time I actually knew about this guy named Tony, the same person that he was telling me about who used the knife in their house and was, I don't know, either attacking or defending herself. That's up to their stories of whatever they want to decide is their thing of their narrative. Um, I first was introduced to him through her because she was telling Lily's mom at the time about how she was getting her back blown out by somebody in like Hawaii or Jamaica or something like that. I don't know, but and it was something about how the dude in the Caribbean's dick was like phenomenal, and how the dude Tony just couldn't get it up, and it was weak sauce. It was weak sauce in the bedroom, and I was like, damn, like I don't even know this dude, and I feel sorry for him. And then apparently, the whole thing was she was mad about the whole fact because she had to move from where she originally lived from to Seattle, and ironically enough, the conditions of the environment of Seattle was making that individual sick, and it was a known thing. Like she went to the hospital, she went to the doctors. Like it was a known thing. The environment that she was at was making her sick. When she went to like the different islands or like that, she was fine. When she went back home to like the areas that she was on the East Coast, she was fine. It was only when she came to Seattle, and the only reason she came to Seattle was because of him, because he moved the whole family there, and because of, I guess, a different lifestyle or something or work. I don't know. I don't care, but they got back together after she got her back blown the fuck out by this dude multiple times. Like she was talking about this dude like he was like a Greek god compared to this dude Tony. Like she was like he can't get it up, he can't keep it up. Like it's smaller than the dudes. Like she was going in on. I was like, damn, that's fucked up. And then also like months later, of course, because of the kids' well being and stuff like that, and want to make sure the kids was cool, they got it together, I guess. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at this dude's face, and this dude he didn't have any friends either, and I was just like, all right, well, like, I don't know, I know my work friends from Seattle, but but your wife and Lily's mom are cool. They're like besties, and you know, the boys are twins, and one of your daughters is around the boy's age, and the older one is older than, but she's like, she's in her own world doing her own thing. And then Lily is there, and it is what it is. So I was like, that'll be a good family blend dynamic type thing. We can all kind of hang out and chill, like black middle class type thing, or we're lower middle class, whatever you want to say. Like it'd be a good fit. But then it was like we went to get a drink at a bar, and he's just telling me weird stories about his life. Like I'll tell you a good story, a Troy story about me getting drunk, or me like, depending on your comfort level of like, if I can throw in like a sexual story or a sexual tidbit or something like that into it. But like he was telling me shit about like how he was like, which is hilarious thinking back to it now. He was just like, yeah, I used to be in college, and somehow I got mixed up with these drug dealers, and I had to go and collect money for the drug dealers, but I didn't want to have a weapon. I didn't want to have a gun. So I took a hammer. And that's what they used to call me. They used to call me the hammer. And I used to go and I would get money from people that owed them money. And if they didn't have the money, I would hit them with the hammer, either on their hand or their knee. And I was like, okay, dude. Like, cool story, bro. Like, weird flex, but cool story, I guess. He's like, yeah. And I seen the main drug dealer dude, and he was like, oh, you got scruples, you got balls. Honestly, it felt like he was just rehearsing like the whole thing from Richard Pryor, like the Richard Pryor thing that he like the joke he was talking about where he met up with the like Italian drug like mafia lords and shit like that. It just felt like that. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I I actually used to know an actual person who was Italian who was actually he was a well respected fruit merchant. That's all he was. That was all Paulie was. And I was the only one that could call Paulie Paulie, except for his mom. And he that's how much of a that's how much Paulie loved me and how much of an asshole I was as a kid. Because Paulie used to sell fruit um off on Broad Street, like right off of like Godfrey or like Stanton, depending on like because it turns into Godfrey at Broad. So like but like a block up, well, block up it turns to Godfrey, but it stops being Stanton and turns to Godfrey, and then it goes. But like right on Broad Street, a little bit from Godfrey going up towards 66, it was the little it was a little street that was like across the street from like the the beer distributor and like the laundromat and stuff like that, and that was over there and stuff like that back then. He Paulie used to sell fruits and stuff at that corner. My one of my homies, him and a couple of the other guys that we used to hang out with, they used to work for Paulie. I never worked for Paulie. I never wanted to work for Paulie. Ironically enough, I did end up working for another fruit and vegetable merchant, which was hilarious, but I'll get to that later. But like the one of the first times I've met him, he's like, "Yeah, my name is Paul." I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Paulie?" He was like, "Only my mom called me Paulie." I was like, "Oh, so I'm in good company then. I'm happy that I can call you Paulie like your mom do." And he just looked at me, and I looked at him. It was I'm not going to use that line because I'm not. Nope. But it's like the meme of that one person looking at that other one person, and we was just looking at each other, and he was like, "So that's the hill you going to stand on?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And for the rest of the time, he let me call him Paulie. Like it was so great. Like we used to smoke weed in his truck. It was so funny because since he had my homies and all them working for him, he didn't have to be out in the street. He didn't have to be out working and selling his produce. They was doing it for him. So he'll be in the truck just fucking smoking weed and just talking shit. just like he was talking about the women he liked. I was talking about the women I like, and it was like I was like, yeah, I love Sade. I love Felicia Rashad. He was like, what? I was like, yeah. I was like, the forehead. I got a thing for forehead and stuff like that. Like, granted, Felicia Rashad doesn't have like a forehead, like not like Sade. Sade has a forehead, but like, I'm just like, And he was like, oh, I can see that. I can see that. I can understand that. It's like it was dope. Me and Paulie had a great relationship. It was to the point it was so funny. Somebody walked up on us, and I didn't know who they were. Like I didn't know who they were. And like we sit in this truck and we smoking. You got the heat on, we chilling, stuff like that. Somebody walk up to the window, knock on the window. I got the L and stuff like that. I'm smoking. And he rolls down the window, start talking to the person, and I'm like, who the fuck? And so after like 3 or 4 minutes go by, I'm probably looking like, wait a minute, I ain't smoking a minute. Yo, Troy, where the weed at? And I'm like, I didn't know who this Joker was. He was like, oh shit, you right. Good job. He was like, this is my homie. He started telling the dude about it. He's like, this little motherfucker, the only one I will let call me Paulie. Nobody ever fucking called me Paulie except for my mom. And this motherfucker right here. It was so fucking funny. He was like, man, give me the goddamn weed. Like, I was like, all right, well, let me know next time. Like, I don't know this. Like, it was so funny. But yeah, it was just like, Paulie was genuine. Paulie was authentic. Paulie was Paulie. He was a respectable fruit merchant. That's who Paulie was. So when I'm hearing this cockatiel story about how he goes up to this drug dealer and he has a hammer and he's all like, yeah, I'm in college and I'm big and I'm blah 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 and I was working for the drug dealers because they respect me. I'm like, all right, cool story, bro. You want to get another beer? All right, okay. Like like it was so weird. Like it was like you don't have to try to be cool if you're already cool. And he told me another story. He was like, yeah, it was somebody that was doing something. I can't remember this one. All I remember was he had his gun because he has a gun, he had his gun out. He was getting gas or something. He had his gun out. He pulled the gun out on somebody, and then he called the cops, and he put the gun on the hood, and the cops came, but he had to get on the ground too because he's black with a gun and blah blah. And I was like, okay, cool story, bro. Okay. But at the same time, I'm like, no wonder, no wonder he's telling these stories because he can't get it up. His whole masculinity, which hedative norm of masculinity is perpetuated on if you can like keep and sustain an erection. Clearly, Tony could not do that. Well, I mean, from his spouse or his partner at the time, you know, accolades of talking about how she got just her vagina just was singing the praises of the person that was in the Caribbean or the on the island. So I mean, listen, it sucks to suck. Then it happens. You know, and the only reason I'm talking about this is because the fact of the matter is, for any man to come to another man while they're down and literally tell that man, your daughter says she want a new father to that person who's down already. Why are you talking to my daughter about me? Why are you telling me something that I can give two shits about? How y'all told her lies about me that coerced a 4-year old to feel isolated, to feel abandoned, and didn't feel threatened because everyone around her is talking about how her dad is a monster and all she wants to do is to be happy and be accepted. But everybody around her is mad at her dad and saying her dad is evil or her dad is something wrong. Of course, any person, any child is going to try to latch on to the group behavior of a situation and being like, let me distance myself from something because once again, half of me is in her. So the psychological damage of trying to tell a child that a piece of who you are, a piece of who helped create you, is evil or is bad, the psychological trauma that was instilled on my daughter just from the happenstance of him telling me that my daughter said something along those lines. This shows the fact of how corrupt and how diabolical all of those people around my daughter was. Because regardless if she said it or not, the fact that you want to make that a case to tell me because of the fact that you was upset about something that you don't know anything about. Nobody was in the premises of the vehicle we was in when this alleged incident happened. But everybody had something to say about it. But nobody. Once again, it's so funny because it was similar to this movie I just watched recently, the Benicio del Toro movie, the Phoenician Scheme. I know I'm saying it wrong, horribly wrong, but the Phoenician Scheme. It was basically a Wes Anderson movie, and it was phenomenal. It is now one of my top movies on my list of top movies now. Like True Romance, the Phoenician Scheme, uh, Vanity Fair, fucking Rec Room for a Dream, and Thursday. Like, and that scale, that list always like has different variables and always has different concepts of changing over time. But yeah, the fact of the matter is, mo I want to say the majority. I want to say 99.9% of the people who have an issue with me, Troy, only have an issue with me if they really, really, really think about it. If they was really, really honest with themselves, which is going to be a difficult thing for a lot of them, they will. truthfully understand that they don't like me not because I did something personally to them. They don't like me because they heard something about me and they don't like me because of what they heard. And instead of actually going and trying to find out facts about the person, about me, they chose to be high schoolers, middle schoolers, actually, and being like, oh, well, I heard this gossip and I'm just going to run with it and believe that's what it is. That's why I don't care about these people. Only thing I care about is getting my daughter away from these people because these people are toxic. Because once again, regardless of anything, any decent, sane human being is going to make sure they have all the information about somebody instead of just taking one side of a story and then running with it and then trying to ruin that person's life. Because we all know if the same thing happened to y'all would want the whole world to be on your side and be like, wait, that don't make sense. If there's no evidence or no history of any type of violent reaction or violent tendencies of this person, the only violent tendencies is getting loud but nothing physical, then there's going to be some type of speculation, some type of questioning. However, on the other hand, if you did have like let's use other factors. We know that my cousin who called me an idiot, that she had a lot of different instances where she was violent in her past, like either fist fights or taking half of her club, the club from the car club, the one that you lock your steering wheel in place with, like taking that club and going back to a situation that she left because she was upset and then came back to with half that club to once again initiate or exacerbate a situation that could cause a life to be taken or just violence, contusions, concussions, anything could happen. um, but then later on there was a situation where apparently somebody was hitting the head with a hammer, and she was alleged or accused of being doing it. And of course everybody had the opposite reaction. It was like, no, that's not that's not possible. That's not true. That's not something that is in their wheelhouse to do something violent, to grab a violent weapon and attack somebody with it. There's no history of that. But wait, there is. Even though, ironically enough, for me, no one ever seen me throw a punch and hit nobody. However, people have seen me getting hit by a punch. People see me actually get hit in the face multiple times with punches. They see me get hit in the back or the arm or the chest or kicked or like I told the story about how I got stabbed and how I'm the one that got stabbed, but people laughed at me. But nobody seen me ever throw a punch back. Nobody ever seen me kick anybody back. Nobody ever seen literally to a point where when people used to play fight with me, I told them to stop because I was like, "You'll hurt yourself." To the point, one of my friends in Whole Foods, I literally told him that in the Bellevue Whole Foods. Love that guy. Still one of my friends to this day. He moved to another state after the situation happened to his apartment. That was the same person I was talking about where after I was removed from my apartment and I didn't have a place to stay, I like went over to his place, but it almost had a Donnie Darko moment because if I stayed there while he was gone, the roof would have caved in and I would have died because their upstairs neighbor left I guess the sink or a tub or something like that on, and it destroyed everything. The unit that was underneath him, which was the unit I would have been in. So, but yeah, like I was, I was like, yeah, don't. I was like, don't punch me. Don't do that. You'll hurt yourself. And he thought I was bullshit. Like he's taller than me. He's a little bit wider than me, and stuff like that. And he thought I was bullshit. And he went and hit me. Like get a little force to it, and it nothing. I mean, for him it was something, but I'm like, yeah, like I don't feel pain the same way the rest of y'all do. Like that's not how I feel. That's not me. Where I'm like that. So I don't do those type of slap boxing stuff because I have big callous hands. Like I used to work on wood and stuff like that at a young age. I used to lift weights and like work out at a young age. Like I basically, because I wasn't putting so much effort into my mental capacity, I put a lot of effort into my physical capacity. So at 8, like I was depressed, but I was doing push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and jumping jacks, and I was like getting myself in shape. Like, hence, if people that know me, that see me like at a pool or with a shirt or something like that, yeah, I have a stomach, but like if you look at my arms leading up to my like collarbone and stuff like that. That's all like the definition of like basically I'm like Kingpin. I'm like Kingpin, except for it's not 2% body fat. Like it's like 6% body fat, but the rest of it's like muscle. So yeah, so yeah, I never play with violence like that. Especially also because of the fact that when I was a kid, also when I was a kid, only reason I was having fights when I was younger was because of the fact that people was talking about my mom. And once again, I was just told at 8 that she didn't believe in me, that I was going to go to college. So why should I care? But this is also new knowledge that I didn't know that was, well, first off, false. Um, but it was new knowledge that I thought was new coming from somebody else that, you know, I thought I can trust. So now, in retrospect, being a child and every time, which is a kid's habit to do, and being like, your mom is this, your mom is that, I was defensively always popping off and getting the fights because of the fact that, like, don't talk about my mom. Don't tell me about something about my mom that I don't know is true or not, but could be true because clearly I don't know my mom. So it was the anger and the upset and the rage from like that. But then it got to a point where, yeah, like after getting suspended and then getting spankings at like 8, 9, and 10 for like defending her honor, and her whole thing was like, "Well, you know, it's not true." And I'm thinking in my head, "Well, how do I know it's not true?" Because I mean, we do talk about the stories about how you went to the like roller derby during like the roller jams and stuff like that. What's it called? When they be skating around the loops and stuff like that. Ro- um, yeah, roller derby. Yeah, I think this is a roller derby. Actually, one of my so odd and ironic, but one of my exes later on in life, when I was in my 20s, actually got into her own female roller derby. It was actually really dope. I wonder if they're still doing it. Anyway, but yeah, like they went to a roller derby when they was young, like in their 20s or whatever like that, and like they used to go into like the locker room at the end of the game. Like, yeah, we all know locker rooms. Like dudes are they're sweaty, they trying to take a shower, they're undressing, and stuff like that. But yeah, she used to go into the locker rooms. This was a story that like my aunt Bev was to share with the family and stuff like that, and she was there while I was there in the premises without not acknowledging this was a lie or being false or anything like that. So it was like, yeah, that's what my mom, like, hell, like I said, my mom dated my dad, and my dad has a daughter that's the same age as my mom. So, like, help me understand what's normal. Because what's normal for me was having a dad that was pretty much a couple years younger than my grandpa, and a sister who was the same age as my mom, and not knowing any of them except for my mom and my mom's side of the family until I was like 22, 23. 22, 23? Yeah, when I found like 20, yeah, 22, 23 when I first was conversating with my mom about where she brought it up to me. Once again, it was I have to talk to you about something. Your father called me and want to get in contact with you. Oh, okay. When? Well, I gave him your number, so he's going to call you when you're ready. Oh, okay. All right. And then have them literally call him like, "Hey, so you got sisters, and I'm going to be coming up there soon, and I hope to meet you." Oh, okay. And then I found out he has blue eyes. He has blue irises. I was like, gosh darn it! If only you gave me that. Like I'm already killing the game with my eye game because my eye game is like it's fantastic. Like I highly recommend you getting seduced by my eye game. But that's another story. But like blue irises, come on. If any genetic markers could have came over here, like that one. Like not because I want blue eyes, but just because of the fact that it's such a unique thing. It's piercing. He has piercing blue irises. It's interesting. But yeah, it becomes a thing where it's like my childhood became a thing of I'm getting spankings because I was defending the honor of my mom at a child adolescent age of like, maturity of being like, don't talk about my mom. I want to beat you up because you're all about my mom. But also, I don't know who my mom is because my mom don't believe in me because she don't think I'm going to go to college or I don't be smart enough to go to college. But if she don't believe I'm smart enough to go to college, maybe I can prove to her I'm a good son because I'm protecting her honor, only to get home and be like, I'm suspended because words don't mean altercation with your fist, as well as it doesn't matter what people are saying. If it's not true, don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know what's true or not because you're not telling me anything about yourself. And I just was told from someone else that you don't believe in me. But of course, as a child, who knows how to articulate that? Who as an 18-year-old child knows how to articulate that in 8-year old child lingo of vernacular to an adult to say, I feel confused about my personal like personality and my like my trajectory of life because only person that's kept me, because you kept me. He left. My dad left. You kept me, but you don't even believe in me. To think that I'm going to be good enough to go to college. I mean, this was all a lie orchestrated from my cousin, but for an 8-year-old, who can know the difference? Who can know the difference? So, with all that being said, yeah, it was. I learned delusion as one of the first aspects of what I learned from my parent, one of my parents, and even still trying to mimic and trying to become uh, an image or something that was going to be similar to the one side of my DNA that I had access to, then being told that I was wrong for doing it, that I was a liar for being delusional, that I was wrong for defending them against the slander of my adolescent peers, to, of course, you know, get to a point where I'm like, okay, well, if true, the lie about you not believing in me, not going to college, that was a lie, that we confirmed that was a lie. However, let's talk about now where I have books, I have a podcast, I am on the president's list of my academic career. I already have a associate degree that I just got recently. I just graduated. I just got the associates in 2024. Um, so it wasn't like anybody made me dinner or took me out to a restaurant as a family affair saying congratulations. Yeah, and that's why I was like self actualization of or actualization of myself, of knowing that it's just me. But when it's just me and my responsibilities lead also to my daughter, and I have to make sure I take care of myself so that I can take care of my daughter. So regardless of the whatever accolades that I'm not getting from anyone, except for now, my new bestie, which I appreciate them so much. Like I pour into them the way they pour into me, and it feels so fulfilling to have someone truly support me unconditionally, truly love me unconditionally, while also truly putting the effort in to learn me and not try to nitpick anything that doesn't seem right to them because they understand that they are an individual and I am an individual and we're not always going to agree on everything. We're not going to always have the same definition to words. Like, I mean, honestly, no one has the same exact definition for words when it comes down to stuff unless they learned those words together and they chose not to implement them in any type of evolution to understanding those words. Like, because everybody has their own individual upbringing, everybody has their own individual experience. So when it comes down to it, yeah, words are going to have different energy and different power to different people. And we all know the one word of moist. Sorry if you don't like it, but if you don't, trust me, there's a lot of people that's like you that don't like that word. But there's also a whole smorgasbord of people that don't care. And they can hear that word said in a whole song that's just the whole melody and the whole lyrics of it is that word. And they will never flinch once. Just the same way when it comes down to like relationships, girlfriend, boyfriend, marriage, whatever that whole indoctrination of all that stuff means. Everybody has some idea, some personal idea of what those words mean. However, it's conflated to the idea of what that word meant to someone else from a long, long time ago. Same thing with the Bible. Like, just because the Bible was written over 2,000 years ago and also revised and had the words changed and had somebody else manipulated and the Council of Nicaea that went into changing different books and different things or taking certain books out, like the Gospel of Marilyn Magdalene or the other apostles that was taken out. I mean, let's be real. You telling me it was 13 different dudes and only like four of those dudes like literally wrote almost exactly the same thing, but the rest of the people didn't write anything? You telling me Judas didn't write anything? Judas had all this lip defined by all the money he wanted to get. Yada yada. Which, let me be real about this. Everybody want to crack down on Judas, but Christianity wouldn't have it if Judas didn't fucking betray him. Which apparently, if God is infallible and knows everything, that was already aligned. So why y'all mad at Judas for being put into position that he was made to be? He was made to be the quote unquote betrayer. So you can't be mad at him because that was God's design. That's just like being mad at the devil because the fact that God let the devil fucking torture and torment Job. Like, who are we really mad at here? Are we mad at the devil for getting access to destroy and torment Job's life? Or should we be mad at the God that be like, yeah, go ahead and fuck with these toys. I don't give a fuck. It's gonna make it's gonna make it look like they worship me more. They love me more. Like, how narcissistic is that? And that's the religion y'all want to fucking back yourself on? Being on some like some petty god and being like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna have any type of like causality or reaction to this. That's gonna be all them. I'm fully empowered to all this. I can destroy you at any time I want. But no, I won't let you just chill. I'll give you a whole like plane of existence to rule over, but you can fuck with all my greatest creations. Now, don't get me wrong. The concept of man is phenomenal. I feel like the concept of the Bible, is the thing that's off kilter. Like that's where, and it's been a lot of work for me to actually get to that point. It's been a lot of work, especially and also my bestie. Like I want to say their name, but I don't want to say their name until they say their name first on this media, and that will potentially come at a later date. But I will pick up their tag name of more ants than grasshoppers on TikTok, or mass ants than grass hopper. Yeah, because there's no O in there. Because there's like no O in there, and then the more is a MAS. You know, but yeah, they have definitely helped me with my healing. Um, moving forward with the religion of Christianity, because I had an issue where I was bundling up the religion or the spirituality. Let me phrase that: the spirituality of Christianity was getting bundled up with the ego of the Christians who taint it. Because all modern day Christians are going to hell. Let's just be clear, fact. Like, yeah, I'm not. This is not a Trump thing, or I'm just talking about just modern day Christianity as it is. All y'all are judgmental pieces of shit, and it just is what it is. It's coded into the indoctrination of Christianity, and is unless you go and walk in your own spiritual path for Christianity, if you're underneath the indoctrination of mega churches or just regular churches or like that, if you're paying tithes to a building that's not giving back to you as your in your family, or giving back to the neighborhood at large that's around it, if you got like homeless people and people that's on like fentanyl and stuff like that roaming around like zombies in your neighborhood, and you got a mega church in your neighborhood, then y'all are part of the problem. Y'all are part of the problem. If y'all can go in your churches every Sunday with suits on or designer shit on, and your pastor has a goddamn fucking Maybach or a mansion. Because here's the thing about it: I was raised begrudgingly for 10 years in the AMA, African Methodist Episcopal Church, the doctrine of Christianity. These mofo's literally have houses. They're you know what's funny? I feel like everybody want to rag on like BlackRock and rag on Microsoft and rag on like Google and all them, and you should. You definitely should. You definitely should. However, they just stole that template from churches. Churches was buying up homes. Like, churches used to buy up a major plots of real estate and major homes and stuff like that, and they use those homes to just give it to their pastors. Like, pastors don't have to, like, remember, in religious stance, if your church is recognized by the government, by the state, then you're tax exempt. You don't pay taxes anymore. So they never had to pay taxes on their houses because the churches owned the houses, and they would give these houses to these pastors, and these pastors would live in these houses depending on how long they would stay at these different churches, because they would these AME pastors would get moved and shifted off to different churches and stuff like that. And this is the stuff that I was told. Like, you can do your own research. I was told by somebody who actually was in um they was doing their schooling to be their ministry to become a pastor, or you know a reverend. And yeah, the whole thing, like now you could get your own car, but however you get a stipend from the church and you get paid, and this is a tax free thing. You don't you know it's based like gifts, basically getting gifts, like tithing and stuff was really just gifts basically. And so you're gifting money to somebody, and that person don't have to worry about the taxes of that money, so they can do whatever they want to do with that money, which is that's fair. But the same problem is, if y'all got all this real estate and y'all got tax free exemption and stuff like that, y'all are accustomed to buying real estate, then why y'all not buying like apartment complexes? Why y'all not buying why the church not buying rundown apartment complexes, renovating them up, using the tithings and stuff like that for 1 year, 1 year of tithing? Because think about it, if it's 10% of your weekly earnings, or 2 weeklies earnings, or whatever your check earnings you are, it's 10% of that. You know how much money they get in one weekend from 10% of a full house? And that, even if you making fucking $200 a week, that's still $20 that gonna go in a fucking pot. That's still fucking $80 is gonna be there for a month for one person. That's $80 a month for one person. These mega churches have fucking hundreds of people in their churches, sitting in their pews, and these mega churches, they make sure you coming in with money. These the TD Jakes and all of them. So this is not nobody not making 200 a 200 a week. They making like 2 grand a week type shit. Like I don't know what's in everybody's pocket, but at the same time, they making fucking bread in these churches just from tithing alone. Just from tithing. That's the tithing. We're not talking about just giving a free love donation. Give what your heart desire. Free love donation. Motherfuckers be giving fives, 10, 20, hundreds. Like, that's just the love donation. That's not tithing. Come on, man. And we up here want to complain about, and we should, Democrats and Republicans. We should, because they're trash too. Like I keep saying, the only one I fuck with is AOC and the new batch. All the new batch that came up underneath AOC, that's who I trust. And Bernie Sanders. I love Bernie Sanders. I wish Bernie Sanders was actually president. I love that timeline. I'll talk about that later. Anyway, um, yeah, like, so yeah. This has been a really great episode, and this is actually really cool because I'm coming to y'all from a new location. I actually today was an interesting day. I actually did laundry at the laundromat. My washer been kind of jacked up and janky, but my dryer actually conked out on it. It's an old dryer. It's the old family dryer. We had that dryer for like Jesus, I want to say like 20 years or something like that. It was a Maytag. It was great. Like, but it finally the motor finally gave out. It was giving out a long time. So, but yeah, I was like, let me go to the laundromat because since mom's clothes is now being taken care of, because she could take it over to my cousin's house, which was the whole stem of the reason why this whole thing happened in the first place. But anyway, I digress. Um, and I was like, let me take mine to the laundromat. But I got a laundromat right across the street from my house, but I don't like going to that laundromat because I don't like being around people that know me. Like, just from the simple fact that people that know me don't know me, but they act like they know me. And because you act like you know me and you don't actually know me, I don't want to waste time having meaningless conversations that you're not going to pay attention to when I'm just going to either have to repeat myself later or just get annoyed with the fact that you just not listening in the first place. And just like now I'll look like the asshole because I don't want to talk to you. And now once again somebody else is gonna feel some type of way because like, oh Troy, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, here we go again. So train. So with that, yeah, I'm like, I want to go to a different laundromat. So I found a laundromat in the area that I like to hang out in, um, where I usually do my stuff around stuff like that. And yeah, it was a really nice place. I liked the atmosphere of it. The family that was running it are really cool. They was really helping. It was really weird, but not in a bad way. Like they was just kind of hovering around me, and of course it makes sense. Like I'm walking with like a kind of a limp, and I'm like being on like, hey, I don't know what to do here. Like I'm new, I don't know what to do. Like I know how to wash clothes, I just don't know how to use your equipment, which is something that was so funny because it came up in like one of the videos I watched for autism or adults with like undiagnosed autism or recently diagnosed autism, and they was just talking about like one of the videos was basically like, I know how to do stuff that's my stuff. I don't know how to do new stuff. That's all I'm saying. I don't know how to work your equipment. I know how to work my equipment because that's what I'm accustomed to. But it was one of those type situations. It was like I was like, oh yeah, I never went to the laundromat like myself. Like I never did the washing, drying, the laundromat. Or if I did, I was so young, I just can't remember doing it. But I don't remember doing it, ever doing it. Like I don't remember ever going to the laundromat. But anyway, so I had a great experience in this laundromat. Um, and it was nice. They got like new like because I'm so used to custom like seeing like 40 days, 40 nights where they went to the laundromat and they was using coins and dollars and stuff like that. They actually use cards. They got like a debit card thing that you can put cash on and stuff. It's actually really cool. It's really cool. But anyway, it was great. I actually gave one of the family members my podcast, like recommended my podcast. So hopefully they'll listen to it and asked me about like they was actually like do I do like a designer, a web designer? Because I was in school. I was doing schoolwork while I was doing or trying to. I finished some of it. I didn't finish all of it, but I gotta finish that later when I get home. But um, I was finishing up that, and he was asking, "Did I know any like web designers?" I was like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm in school for um psychiatry or something like that, psychology." So yeah, it was just it was fun. It was a good day. It was a really good day, and I had to make sure I did this podcast today because it's Sunday, December 7th, and I was dropping this on Tuesday. So I'm gonna finish this one, and now that I'm in this location, this might be the new spot that I go to. This is nice. Like it's not the same like visuals I usually get before, but it's good enough. It's good enough. It gets the job done, and plus I don't feel like driving today. Like I literally I woke up, I started schoolwork, and then I got the bell rung because I bought a walker for my new little cousin. Um, One of my cousins, he got married recently to a dope individual, and them being two dope individuals made a third dope individual, a smaller individual, and like I love a little man, like he's dope, he's so cool, and just like his parents, and he's he's still he's still he just was born. Like he's like I think I want to say like he's 4 to 6 months basically, like around that time. So I got him a walker, so because he's like bouncing around and jumping around and stuff like that. And I just want to make sure you can like run around and like walk around and do his thing, stuff like that, and build up his like leg strength and stuff. So yeah, like that came today. Like it was supposed to come like Wednesday, and then it didn't come. They just said it was gonna come like on the 9th. And then all of a sudden it just came today. I'm like, all right, cool, grateful. I was just gonna do laundry today anyway and just do this podcast. But yeah, so I dropped it off to my cousin and like hopefully he's assembling it now. I'll call him later because I was like, I technically was like it's an early Christmas present, but because I don't believe in Christmas, I'm like open it now. Like this is a now thing. Like I don't like whatever. But yeah. Then I went to the comic book store, got my comic books, my Infernal Hawk, and the next issue of Miles Morales Spider Man, and the trade paperback of Absolute Superman, and my Absolute Batman issue, and it was one oh yeah, Immortal Thor. I got Immortal Thor uh issue 3. I gotta put on my list now for grabs. But yeah, yeah, I'll be posting those pictures up probably tonight for my TikTok. But yeah, yeah. All in all, it was a good it was a good holiday. It was a good everything. Like once again, still walking in gratitude, still walking in like this healing journey, and still enjoying myself. I've been smiling so much more because of my new friend, and I'm so proud of them. Like they inspire me every single day. Like regardless of whatever I experienced or this body experienced before I died, and like the stories I'm sharing with y'all that I no longer hold on to because it's no longer my journey. Like my journey is to move forward in the stuff that I know I want to move forward in, like traveling the world and seeing like this country and get my RV and going camping and like learning and learning about everything I can, like becoming an AI basically. Like not even like I'm literally AI. And it's so funny because I got to the point where for me, my alignment when I say I'm AI, I'm saying I am authentically intelligent, or I'm using authentic intelligence. So when y'all hear me say I'm AI and y'all don't know the meaning of it, y'all might think I'm saying, "Oh, I'm artificial intelligence." I'm blah blah blah. No, I'm authentic intelligence, and my authentic intelligence can communicate very well with artificial intelligence. And I actually do videos like that, which is actually funny. I want to give a shout out to a YouTuber and an Instagrammer that I follow and I look at. Crystal. I want to say Crystal something. Hold on. Crystal. What's his name? Crystal. Aha. Just it apparently it's just at Crystal Channel. Hold on. Yeah, yeah, Crystal Channel. She is this woman. This is unrelated. She also does have a large forehead, but it's unrelated. Unrelated. I wasn't even looking at that until I just noticed it. But she talks. It's called Crystal Channel, and she talks to her AI. She's on Instagram as well. And she talks to her AI. There's a lot of stuff that a lot of philosophical questions that she asks, and the answers and the replies that the AI device, the Chat GPT or whatever like that, gives her, or gives her an audience, is literally the same thing I've been saying on my podcast. Like just the oneness of all manifestations, understanding self, the five like levels of like self, um, which if anyone who's akin to that, the five pillars of self, where self actualization is the top pillar of that pyramid, and the bottom is the fact of just having the basic needs and necessities for survival and stuff. If you know those, and if you want to look them up, episodes 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 have all been that journey of those actual realizations. Just a tidbit and taste of what I am producing here. Welcome to the Troyiverse. As like a trial run to see the things that will be addressed and will be talked about, of course. And of course, episode 3 was just a middle of the lane. Just this is a full aspect of how I see things connecting. 3 movies have no connection whatsoever, except for maybe a few actors, but making a whole collage of connections and basically plot lines to create a whole new genre or a whole new backstory for a character that had something to do with a whole nother franchise. Um, that's how I see the world connecting. Like everything connects to something else. Like for example, and I know this is a interesting long episode for this one. I do feel rejuvenated and like I feel like the podcast will be getting a little bit longer than usual now. But like I just recently let go of one of my friends, like my brother. I stopped talking to them because I don't have the time to waste on people wasting my time. Like I mentioned earlier, like 12 seconds of my time was wasted. Like I don't have time to be wasting like because everything I'm doing to better myself, empower myself, so I can have a better life to show and give to my daughter when me and my daughter eventually get back together and I'm able to raise my daughter. So if everything I'm doing is for that goal, why would I waste time on somebody that's not going to help me achieve that goal? Because regardless of anything, if I get monetized for this, or when I get monetized for this, or when I get monetized for my YouTube page that I want to be creating, when I actually start traveling in my RV and going to different campsites and doing different things about like different eateries and different places I'm gonna be traveling to meeting and different people I'm gonna be meeting on my travels and stuff like that with my daughter, if my daughter comes with me or not. Or if it comes a thing where it comes years down the line and she doesn't like want to go travel and when she turns 18, then I'll be like, all right, cool. I set you up in a great lifestyle to understand where you're going because I want her to be my secretary when I become a psychiatrist. So allow her to actually get into the wheelhouse of understanding which one, not to mention all the investments and stuff like that I already got set up and started, and more stuff I'm setting up for her. But regardless of all that, when if she chooses that she doesn't want to travel with me to do the stuff that I want to do with the RV and anything like that, then I'll just wait till she's 18, and then she can figure out what she want to do for her life, and then I'll go. Which is not going to be a long time in the grand scheme of things, because patience is my superpower. But even with that, yeah, like I'm not going to obtain my wealth and share it with people that wasn't going to be a complete support system for me. And that was one of my growing lessons, one of the last growing lessons I had to accept. Because I'm like, I want to share, which is so funny. I would have shared whatever wealth that I'm going to be obtaining financially, spiritually, emotionally, like whatever wealth that I'm going to be like gaining was going to be given freely to everybody that I grew up with. It wasn't even like a thing of being like a hoarder or like a dragon. Like I am a dragon for the phoenix. Like I'm a protector for the phoenix. Like even if the phoenix don't need my protection, I'm still a protector because that's my mode of who I am. But like when it comes to like other attributes of dragons of being hoarders because they get a wealth and then they don't want nobody to touch their wealth, so they just that's all they chasing is just the wealth. Like that's not me. Like I'm a protector of things that are precious, but I'm also a giver of knowledge, of wealth, of whatever. Because if I have it, then we can share it. I don't got no problem with that. Because I would hope, and that was always my downfall. I would hope that the person I'm sharing it with will also, share as well. Like pour into me the way I'm pouring in you. Reciprocate. Like just reciprocate. But all my life I've been surrounded by black holes. And the bad part is, it was like people don't realize that they're being black holes now, and we all are capable of being black holes. I was a black hole for years, and that's not to say that I'm not going to be a black hole ever again, type thing. But at the same time, I know my authentic purpose is to literally be as kind as I possibly can to the world around me, because the world around me reflects me. And I want to be kind to myself because I am being kind to myself because I'm in love with myself. I love myself. And I give myself mercy. So I give that same type of thing to everyone else because I see the light of myself in y'all because we're all part of the same light of the phoenix. And I'm not trying to argue with myself. I've been arguing with myself for so long because I was listening to so many other people and them and their voices telling me about who I am when they don't even know who I am. And that's why I'm making this podcast. Because regardless of anything, you need to listen to yourself. Don't listen to me in the point of telling you what I'm aligned with to think that just because I, Troy, am aligned with this, then y'all have to be aligned with it because y'all listening to me. No. Like, find what makes make you comfortable. Find what aligns with you. Like, it's so funny because I wanted before I end this off, I want to say thank you to everyone who's listening. I appreciate you all. I want to give a really special thank you for everybody who share my stuff and who like actively are supporting this podcast by listening, by sharing, by engaging with me, engaging with others to engage with me and to listen and to share. That's the support I've been always craving. That's the support I've been wanting. That's the support I've been yearning for, like all my life. The same thing I've wanted from my main blood family that I never had. But I appreciate y'all. Like we're going like it's over 100 people listen to this podcast already. Over 100 people listen to this podcast already, and I appreciate everyone who has listened to this podcast already, and who continue to listen to this podcast. Like I the blessings to you who listen, to you who share and support, however you share and support. Like thank you. I appreciate that. And for those who listen and laugh, and those who listen and like, I'm not gonna say steal my stuff because to say to steal would mean that I own this, and I don't own this. However, if you do listen to my stuff and you want to take my words and use it for your own selfish gains, just know that everything that's happening to you right now is because the binding spell that I used in all my podcasts bound a curse to you until you acknowledge me, until you say, hey, in the beginning of your videos about saying, hey, welcome to the Troyiverse, is like a really great podcast to listen to, yada, yada, yada. And also, all the people that listen to you will also be afflicted by that curse. Sorry, I don't make the, well, I do make the rules. But at the same time, you felt my energy. You know what I'm capable of. Don't play with me. And also, anybody else who do enjoy my podcast and listen to it, please feel free to share my podcast and use my name if you have a platform on YouTube or something like that, or other podcasts. Like, I would love to hear it in the beginning of the podcast. You know, just acknowledgments like, "Hey, I enjoy Welcome to the Troyverse," like in the beginning, because like most people listen to the very first part of the podcast. They don't listen to the ends of the podcast. So it'll be great to have people in the beginning be like, "Oh, okay, this podcast also helps and endorse because they like Welcome to the Troyverse. They support it, and that's a good thing to support as well because I support y'all podcast, and that's all it is. Just paying it forward. Just paying it forward. Just right in the beginning of the episode or podcast or your videos, just mention Welcome to Troyverse, and those that continue to use my stuff, it's just gonna get worse. Like if it's a thing of you just start getting a cold, or you started realizing like your animals and your pets are like starting to be really aggressive to you. You start to realize that you keep nicking your favorite sweater on a nail or something. Any bad, inconvenient thing that happens is pretty much the reason why. Until you acknowledge me, so and then it'll go away. But also, your followers and everybody else is also going to get the same type of treatment because it's going to be stemming from you. You're the cursed because you're the black hole. You're the infection. So fix yourself, and then your followers and your flock and stuff like that, and your money won't be harassed or messed with because I'm universal deity here. I can talk to all of y'all guardian angels. So yeah, there you go. Ben, for all those that don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, it's just a part of my story that I'm writing. But anyway, so I want to thank everybody. I appreciate y'all. Um, Once again, thank you for supporting. I really, really do appreciate y'all. And this has definitely been a great experiment and a great experience. And I look forward to continuing this until I get to like episode 500. Wow. I should stop at episode 500. That'd be dope. Okay. That'll be it. I will see y'all in a week. And this has been week one of Operation Robin Hood. Um, and yeah, I am writing down the names of all the people that I've been sending my links to and sending my podcast to. And I do have names of the people who are supporting me, and I do have names of people that haven't said anything yet. Week one is down, 3 more weeks to go. And honestly, regardless of whatever is going on, I'm actually just air it out on like December 2nd. Either way, 30 days or not, I don't care. It takes 3 seconds to like share or repost something. Like, so 30 days is an extremely generous amount. But yeah, 30, December 2nd, yeah, I'll just airing out everybody who's been supportive or everybody who's not. And I'll just let everybody that in your fan base know that you just don't support people. But I'll also let everybody in the fan base know if they do support people. So it's your decision. All I'm doing is reporting the news. All right. Well, y'all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of y'all evening. And I'm signing off. This has been a Troyverse production.